Whispers of Evermore. Evermore Apartments, an ancient, ivy-clad building with twisting corridors and ornate ironwork balconies, stood as a curious monument to eccentricity in the heart of the city. It was a place where the odd and extraordinary were the norm, and the residents matched the building's quirky charm. Mr. Whiskers, who lived on the first floor, was an elderly gentleman with a curious obsession. Believing he was a cat in a past life, he had transformed his apartment into a shrine to all things feline. Neighbors were used to the sounds of meowing and purring coming from his windowsill, where he often basked in the sunlight. Directly across the hall was Madame Zelda, a fortune-teller with a flair for the dramatic. Her apartment was a riot of colors and scents. Filled with tapestries and incense, she claimed her crystal ball could predict the future, though her forecasts were more whimsical than accurate. Yet, her neighbors often found solace in her presence, seeking her counsel for both trivial and significant matters. The second floor housed Professor Pemberton, a retired academic who had converted his apartment into a miniature museum of peculiar artifacts. Ancient relics and curious inventions lined his shelves, and he frequently held impromptu lectures in the hallway, regaling anyone who would listen with tales of history and mystery. He was particularly fond of the legend of Evermore Apartments, which he claimed was built on an ancient ley line that attracted strange phenomena. Just down the hall from the professor was Luna, a young artist known for her surreal murals. Her apartment was an ever-evolving canvas, with vibrant paintings covering every wall. She welcomed neighbors to contribute to her artwork, turning her home into a communal masterpiece. Luna was famous for her midnight painting sessions, during which the sound of her brushstrokes filled the quiet building. On the third floor lived the enigmatic Mr. Blackwood, a man shrouded in mystery. He rarely left his apartment and moved with a ghostly presence when he did. Rumors about him were rampant. Some said he was a retired spy. Others believed he was hiding from a dark past, despite his reclusiveness. He had an uncanny knack for knowing everything that happened in the building, often leaving anonymous notes with helpful advice for his neighbors. In the attic apartment resided Mrs. Haversham, the building's caretaker, a spry woman in her 70s. She had lived in Evermore Apartments longer than anyone could remember. Her apartment was a cozy sanctuary filled with travel mementos and an endless supply of tea and cookies for anyone needing a listening ear. She had a talent for fixing things and a heart full of stories about the building's history. One stormy night, the power went out, plunging Evermore Apartments into darkness. The residents gathered in the lobby, their flashlights casting eerie shadows. Mr. Whiskers was the first to speak, his voice surprisingly authoritative for someone who usually communicated through purrs. "We need to check the fuse box," he said. "It's in the basement." Madame Zelda clutched her crystal ball. "I'll come with you. My intuition tells me there's more to this outage than meets the eye." Professor Pemberton and Luna volunteered to search for candles, while Mr. Blackwood slipped away, his presence barely noticeable. Mrs. Haversham took charge, organizing the group with calm efficiency. As they descended into the basement, the air grew colder and the darkness seemed to press in around them. Mr. Whiskers led the way, his steps confident. Madame Zelda followed closely, her eyes scanning for unseen forces. In the dim light, they found the fuse box and quickly restored power. But as the lights flickered back on, a hidden door creaked open, revealing a secret room filled with old photographs and documents. It was a treasure trove of the building's history, long forgotten. The residents spent the night piecing together the stories of Evermore Apartments, growing closer as they uncovered its secrets. They learned the building had been a refuge for outcasts and dreamers, a place where the extraordinary was ordinary. As dawn broke, casting a golden light over the ivy-covered walls, the residents emerged from the basement, their hearts full of newfound connection. They were no longer just a collection of odd individuals, they were a community, bound by the magic of their home and the shared adventure of discovering its past. Life at Evermore Apartments continued with its eccentric residents, each contributing to the rich, vibrant tapestry that made their home unique. The building had its quirks, and so did they. But together they created a place where the extraordinary was ordinary and the impossible was possible.